What's going on, guys? Mikkel here, and today we're talking about HBAR again. Guys, recently you've been blowing up this channel, so make sure you keep it up. Please keep subscribing. It really helps me out a ton. You guys don't understand. The more you guys subscribe and like my videos, the more I'm going to be able to push content, and the more we're all going to be able to work together to find these amazing projects and in the end make a lot of money. So thank you so much for all you've been doing. Keep subscribing and let's get this bag together. But anyway, guys, let's jump into Hedera, and let me tell you some massive announcements that have come out recently, and I want to explain to you why I really think these are so important. They have been covered a lot recently over Twitter in the media, but I really want to break it down and make it easier for you guys to understand why these developments are so massive. So the first one is that the Hedera Governing Council approves a $5 billion in HBAR tokens to boost network adoption. Guys, this is exactly what I want to see. Essentially, Hedera is on their toes and thinking, how can we make sure that we bring adoption to our ecosystem? And the best way to do that, second best, I actually think this next thing I'm going to go over is even better, but one of the best ways to do that is reward people for coming over and giving them the firepower to really build a robust network. One of the most important things that these developers need is money and the ability to be able to finance their developments, and I just think this is a great way to foster adoption on the network. I like this so much more than like saying, oh, we're going to burn 10% of our tokens, because rather than just wasting the value that the network has already been created, it's taking the value from the network and funneling it back in to create a more robust and connected network. Guys, at the end of the day, I know Hedera's on a blockchain, but all these distributed ledger ecosystem, blockchain, DAG, whatever you want to call them, it all runs on network effects, and if you can take the value of the network itself, put it back into itself, and foster more adoption and more building in the ecosystem, it's only going to do wonders for the ecosystem itself. So overall, I thought this was a massive development, and yeah, I love to see it. The rest of this is kind of saying the same thing as I said. The next thing I want to show you, this is kind of a precursor to the first announcement, but I think it will help you guys kind of conceptually get what I'm going to say here, so just stick with me right here. So this tweet I saw, it said, Hedera is going to eat Solana's breakfast, Ethereum's lunch, and Cardano's dinner. I do like this. The one thing I want to say is Ethereum really is on a different level. It has the first mover advantage. All the developers want to work on Ethereum, and it's really the standard for smart contracts and DeFi. And while I do think Hedera is going to be one of the biggest players in the overall Internet of Things platform, essentially utilizing things like DeFi, stuff like that, that uses smart contracts, I just want to say that one of the biggest things is Ethereum, the Ethereum EVM runs on Solidity, and right now that's where all the development is. Whether people like it or not, the biggest developments have happened on the Ethereum network, and that's because Ethereum was the first language that really brought an ecosystem of developers in and allowed them to really have free reign in what they do on the network. Now, with that said, let me get into this. Hedera recently announced that they are going to be incorporating the, recently Hedera announced that they were going to be incorporating the Ethereum EVM into the Hedera network, which will run on Solidity. This is absolutely massive because it's a Hedera taking a step back and saying, look, we need to incorporate this Ethereum EVM because this is what the developers are used to. They want to code in Solidity, and this is right now currently where the adoption is. That does not mean that this won't change in the future. It's just saying right now we are losing out on a massive amount of developers who might want to work on Hedera, but because they want to code in Solidity and use the Ethereum EVM. I know this might sound kind of crazy to you, but guys, developers can be very stubborn and stuck in their ways. It's just the way it goes. You see a lot of developers stuck to their, even in different languages, say C+, or any kind of, or Linux, or whatever they want to code in. A lot of times once they have what they know, they don't want to move around. So I think it's absolutely genius for Hedera to realize, hey, we're losing a lot of development because we don't have the ability for these developers to come on and use the networks they're used to. Now, what Hedera did, which I think is incredible, is they incorporated the Ethereum EVM, but kept their own scalability and overall technology, which essentially is using the base of what these developers are used to and what they know, but incorporating the massive technological advancements that Hedera has to offer. Overall, I think between this incorporation of the Ethereum EVM and Solidity with this massive incentive to bring developers over to boost network adoption, I just love this, because at the end of the day, all these networks, blockchain, DAG, whatever, they're all network effects. And the more adoption you have of the network, the better it is for the entire ecosystem and the overall price of the underlying token. The underlying token really just represents the amount of adoption and the amount of usage the underlying protocol's getting. So the more people you can bring into the ecosystem, the better. And overall, I just think these are two massive moves by Hedera in a great direction to boost adoption of the ecosystem, and I just love to see it. I think this is going to be incredible for Hedera over the long term, and it really makes me happy to see, rather than being stubborn and saying, no, we have it the right way, we're not incorporating anything else, they're taking a step back and saying, hey, we can incorporate these different parts of these different ecosystems and use them to drive our own ecosystem. And rather than making everyone come over and do things our way, let's look at what other communities like and what they're doing well, and how can we bring that into our own project and make it a more inclusive ecosystem and really make people feel comfortable and want to come over and build with us. Overall, I just love this. I think this is great. This is totally the direction I love to see. And I want to show you guys some contrast on a project I think that is kind of doing the opposite and maybe doing this the wrong way opposed to what Hedera is doing. And that would be Cardano. And before, I did point this out in my last video, but I just want to point out that Hedera was founded way after Cardano. It uses a DAG hash graph rather than a blockchain. They're way faster, transactions are cheaper, and energy's much less. But on top of that, the really interesting thing is Hedera's done over 1.5 billion transactions, and Cardano's only at 10 million. And Hedera is a much newer project, so you really wouldn't expect this. Not only that, but Hedera has significantly lower amounts of accounts, where Cardano has over 1.3 million. This forces me to come to the conclusion that Cardano's blockchain, because of this number of accounts to the total transactions, is a lot of retail speculators holding the token for price appreciation, while Hedera has much less accounts that are actually using the Hedera blockchain for the Hedera Hashgraph for its intended use. I just want to point this out because these hash graphs, blockchains, whatever, they are going to get their value from the underlying protocol being used for its intended purpose, not because a bunch of people want to hold the token. That's great, but in the end, the real winners are going to have adoption, and I really think this accounts to transaction versus Cardano. And Cardano is not a bad project, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying this is insane for Hedera and really shows why it's a tier up. And I want to show you guys this because honestly, I saw this from Charles Hoskinson, and it really made me question, like, let me say it, let me show it, and then I'd be curious if you guys put your reaction to this video down below.
Hedera Hashgraph. Take them seriously and read their white papers, read their code. If they weren't laden with patents, I have a policy. If you patent your work and if there's an owner of your code, I will pretend like you don't exist. I don't care if you can cure cancer, give me a blowjob, and take 10 years off my age. Don't care. If you're patented, not going to talk to you in terms of code. It's just crazy. So maybe they have something good, maybe they don't. I've never once read a single line of code, never read their white paper. I know nothing about the project other than the fact that there is an owner. And you can give all this bullshit about how it's necessary for defensive reasons. It wasn't for Bitcoin. It wasn't for Ethereum. It's not for Polkadot. It's not for Cardano. It's not for any of the other cryptocurrencies, but apparently they know best. Don't.
So let me just... Oh, hold on.
Use garbage.
He's a centralized garbage. So let me just break this down real quick. The first thing that, in sharp contrast to what we think, what we see with Hedera, where Hedera is willing to say, look, Ethereum is doing this very well. We want to bring in this parts of Ethereum to make our ecosystem better. Charles Hoskinson saying right here, I don't care about it. It doesn't interest me. I'm just going to ignore it. It's garbage. I don't like the way they're doing it. I'm going to ignore it. Meanwhile, they're getting blown away from the technology. Overall, I just don't think this is how competitors should compete. I think you should always look around and see what other people are doing good and say, how can I bring this into my own ecosystem to make us better? You shouldn't be shutting the door and saying, oh, I don't agree with this one tiny little aspect of what they're doing, therefore I'm going to ignore everything they're doing and assume it's all garbage, because clearly it's not, because they have way more transactions and an overall better technology than what Cardano has. And overall, this just makes me look at a philosophy kind of that Charles Hoskinson is putting forward, and then saying, wow, I don't like the way he's kind of saying this, but I do love how Hedera is going out of its way to say, how can we build an ecosystem that our developers want and not have, this is going to be a little, some people might not like this, but have a guy at the top saying, screw that, we're not doing anything like that, we're doing it my way, blah, 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 blah. And he goes at the end and say, it's centralized garbage. All these blockchains, Hashgraph, whatever, are centralized to a certain degree. They all have a point of failure right now because these ecosystems are still being built out. If Charles Hoskinson's was to disappear, or the foundation that owns Cardano was to disappear, the ADA blockchain would be significantly reduced in terms of the developments it has. Centralization is such a buzzword in blockchain. People just like to throw it around whenever they see a project they don't like and say, like, oh, that's too centralized. My project's decentralized. Ethereum is centralized. They have the Ethereum Foundation. They have Vitalik Buterin. Ripple and XRP are centralized. They have Ripple driving a lot of the foundation. Cardano is centralized to a certain degree. Hedera has these massive corporations. It's all a buzzword. As long as they're relatively decentralized and there's no one party that has complete ownership over the entire thing, it's going to stay slightly centralized until we see mass adoption. So I just think the whole idea of throwing around this, oh, this is centralized, this isn't. It's like, some are slightly more than, and some are others, but none are completely decentralized, and they all have these aspects. So before I rant all about this too much, I just think, like, this is the wrong approach. I do not like the way he's talking about this. I think you always respect competition. You see what they do well and see how you can improve your own network based on what others are doing. And before I freaking start fuming out the ears, I just wanted to say that. I just wanted to say Hedera is partnered with some of the biggest corporations in the entire world. So they're clearly doing something right. They have amazing technology, and when you have these big guys already involved, and then Hedera is going out of its way and saying, how do we bring the developers and the retail community here? I love that. I think that's amazing. The last thing I really wanted to get into is, guys, these are the projects I like to accumulate. Hedera Hashgraph, Polkadot, Constellation, Quant, XRP is in here, Ethereum's in here, Bitcoin's in here. Guys, in my opinion, these are the top tier projects. And you'll notice, if you look closely, especially in stuff like the Hyperledger Foundation, a lot of these projects are interconnected, working together, or have partners of partners. I think it says a lot, and I really do think that a lot of probably of the assets on the screen, I think there's a lot of winners. I think if you pick the right blockchain / DAG, Hashgraph projects, whatever, I don't want to trigger anyone, you're going to be able to make a lot of money in the future. And yeah, I just want to point out the fact that Hedera is doing all the things they need to do to become a network that is going to blow up in the future, and it's still relatively small compared to other projects. I think it easily has top 10, top 5 potential. Yeah, so make sure you guys keep your eyes open. I would be buying Hedera on any pullback. This recent announcement just really shows me that they're putting the community first, and it's really not just a centralized hash graph for corporations. They want to turn this into an ecosystem, and I just really like what I'm seeing. Anyway, guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video. Like I said, you guys are killing it. It would help me so much if you subscribed. I really want to be able to do this full time and just make videos like this to help everyone. So whatever you can do to help out the channel, I really appreciate it. But for now, Mikkel out.